Released in June 2019, Dota Underlords is an auto chess game that was based upon a Dota 2 in-game mod called Dota AutoChess. But now, in 2023, the game has mostly been abandoned. What happened? That's what I want to talk about today. In 2019, AutoChess was at its peak. Dota AutoChess had just launched in January, and by June, Valve was poised to cash in on their own version, now known as Dota Underlords. While the launch was very successful, it became clear that it would be a struggle to compete against the stiff competition of Riot's teamfight tactics, which continues to flourish and essentially dominate now the auto chess genre. Admittedly, the genre itself is nowhere near as popular as it once was, and this is a factor in the reduction of players for Underlords. But for me personally, I still play and enjoy the game from time to time. It's a very casual game to play. I even have it on my phone, and I enjoy it for that. A game to play where I can switch my brain off for a bit, either listen to some YouTube videos, or maybe when I'm travelling I'll play it. Stuff like that. So what actually is an auto chess? Let me explain that first before getting into the strengths and the problems of Dota Underlords itself. An auto chess game, is also sometimes called an auto battler, is a game where, after a preparation phase, your AI does battle against other players' AI to see who comes out on top. The player themselves has no control over the battle, and so the task as the player is to assemble as strong a team as possible, usually by upgrading units and adding more as rounds continue. Players usually have lives or a score that depletes as you lose battles. Similar to Battle Royales, your aim really is to be the last player alive, and the last player standing to win the overall game. Units are often grouped into types too, which grants a player's team bonuses that will make their team stronger, and eventually you are aiming to form into a perfect snowball that will destroy any other AI teams in your path and be the last person remaining. With that said, what are the strengths of Dota Underlords itself, compared to other auto battlers? One of the great strengths of Dota Underlords really is its ease of play, and this has actually been noted by critics as well. It's particularly helpful for newer players. Its UI is very well laid out and it's very simple, and this helps first time players to get to grips with the game. In addition to this, separating ranked and casual game modes, which wasn't initially in the game but was then added later, has helped newer players to get to grips with the game, along with being able to challenge bots and also play quicker matches and quicker casual matches that typically last a much shorter length of time than the average long format game. Another interesting game mode that was added by Valve was the Duos mode, which helped the game's early success quite a lot, as players could pair up with friends to have two separate boards but a shared health pool, and they would try and win the game together, which added a very nice co-op element to the game. Initially the game balance was slightly off, but in the state it's currently, the game is actually quite well balanced, and varying strategies are able to bring success, which is really nice for the type of game that it is, given you have a lack of control. I actually really like and enjoy the alliance mechanic of the game, and although this is common across the games of the genre, I really enjoy how it operates and how it functions in this game. It feels very, very impactful. There are also daily challenges and battle pass quests which are added to the game over time. These provide a fun and unique twist on playing the game and encourage players to play different ways, to try different playstyles and find different routes to success. The really key strength of Dota Underlords is actually very, very obvious. It's the Dota 2 IP. It's really what made the original auto chess so popular in the first place. Having Dota 2 heroes that all players can recognise, most of them came from Dota 2 themselves, is very key and was key to the initial success of the game. And having a staggered release of those heroes into Dota Underlords helped to create hype for the game until its official release after its initial early access free-to-play release. It also provides a huge potential pool of players and potential monetization options. Dota boasts a regular player base of over 500,000 people at a minimum, and so opening up this game to this entire player base with their characters from their game is a huge strength for it. The question is, where did things go wrong? I think there are a couple of key reasons to discuss. The first of these is Valve themselves. As is Valve's way, they often abandon games because of the way they internally operate, allowing developers to hop from project to project as they want rather than sticking to one game. Games like Team Fortress 2 continue to flourish under this radio silence model because they are multiplayer games. Skill variance and player unpredictability create unique gameplay on each load, and so the regular player base remains high for that unique characteristic. Underlords, however, doesn't fit the same formula. Without regular updates, the game quickly becomes stale, as certain strategies will always dominate over others until the game is updated. The player is almost fully withdrawn at times from the game. As the AI battles away on your behalf, that creates a lack of control. This lack of control means that the gameplay is sometimes repetitive, and once again requires updates to be worthwhile to players. The second reason I've already mentioned, the competitor Riot Games and its game Teamfight Tactics. It seems a very simple point to make, but why would anybody play an abandoned game when they could play the same one but with updates and active players? Players have no real reason to stick with Underlords in its current state, other than allegiance to Dota 2 or a lack of desire to download Riot's own game client. The saddest part is that there are a lot of players who would like even a small update to the game just to keep it alive, and the game still has a committed and regular player base, albeit a very small one. The Steam reviews for the game, as well as the r/Underlords, are filled with posts begging for updates for the game for the last 2 years. Even before the game was officially abandoned, Reddit users were complaining about Valve's lack of updates for the game, and the game was not even 2 years old yet. 2 years on from then, the frustration really does lie in the fact that the game itself is really good. A nice casual auto chess that can be played on mobile. There was not a lot of bug fixing required at all, just slight tweaks and gameplay updates was all that was needed to keep the game alive. Not to mention that Valve potentially missed out on cross monetization opportunities with its biggest money making game in Dota 2. Allowing skins or sets to be used in both games or getting unique unlocks in Dota 2 for playing Underlords would have encouraged many more players to play and stick with the game, and also help the game to pull its own weight as a revenue maker if that's really why it was abandoned. On December 8th, 2021, Valve released an update for Dota Underlords. The patch notes just said this: extended Season 1, end date to 2031. This is essentially Valve speak for the game will no longer be updated. As of writing this and recording this video, the Battle Pass is still live, and there is still an active player base of the game of about 2,000 to 3,000 players. People could still be baited into buying the Battle Pass without knowing that no further content is coming, and this kinda sucks. So the question now really is, what next for Underlords? That's a really difficult question. It seems unlikely that Valve is going to update the game further, and so I don't know if I can recommend it to you. But what I can do is I can talk you through some of the gameplay you've been seeing in this video, and as it is a free to play game, I will recommend it to you if you have time to kill. So let's take a look. I played 2 quick games for this video, both in the knockout mode, which is the faster, more casual mode I was describing earlier. At the start of this mode, each player gets to choose a pair of alliances to start their team off and to start the game. The first time around, I chose a very aggressive team by choosing 2 alliances that buff attack speed. I knew this would be very useful in the earlier rounds to try and get some wins on the board. In this game, I got quite lucky early on with my rolls, and I was able to upgrade units regularly and was the last player to lose a round entirely. After this loss, the snowball continued to roll, and I didn't actually lose a single other round until it was down to the final 2, and my last opponent only had 1 life remaining. Unfortunately, my team hadn't scaled very well into the later game compared to his, and I took 3 swift defeats to my opponent. His team had just got stronger and better, but I was happy with my second place overall. The second game I played was almost the opposite to this. I didn't like any of the options at the start, so I decided to re-roll them. And then when the re-roll came up, I didn't really like the re-roll options either, so I kind of panicked chose the middle one. With this alliance pairing, I didn't see the synergy that I saw in the first game. I knew I had summons, which was always going to be strong and scale well into the late game, but I knew that it would be a struggle to compete early on in the game. And I did lose 2 lives in quick succession very early. In the mid game, we were just about able to recover. I managed to build a few more key alliances, and this allowed me to survive into the late game. I was actually very surprised to find myself ending up firstly in the final 5 and then again in the final 3. Unfortunately, the strongest player didn't falter as I had done in the first game, and I was eliminated, but once again earned second place after battling from dead last at the start. I think what these rounds ultimately show is that the game can be played in a number of diverse ways, and although abandoned, the game is in a very competitive and actually very playable state. It is just really a shame that there will be no further updates or tweaks to improve this. If you do fancy giving it a try, I would strongly encourage you to do so. The game is really fun, very casual, very chill. But unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, it is almost dead, for the reasons I previously described. So that really concludes my video on Dota Underlords, the game that has unfortunately been abandoned by Valve. Hopefully in the future they will update the game and the players, the dedicated fanbase and players, can get the update they crave so badly. And thank you very much for watching this video. This video is a little bit different and a bit shorter than usual, so I hope you enjoyed it. I've really appreciated seeing all of your wonderful comments on my previous 3 uploads, and I try to reply to them where I can. Thank you again for the support and bearing with me as I learn how best to do this. I appreciate that I'm not going to hit the nail on the head every time. You guys have been really supportive and helpful in trying to improve my videos, and your positive comments have really warmed me, so thank you so much for those too. The last thing I have to say is Happy New Year. Since my last upload we've jumped into the new year, so I hope this year brings everything you want from it. And yeah, I will be doing my best to upload every week for the rest of this year. So let's see how that goes. But please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much once again for watching and all of your comments and support. It really is appreciated. Take care and peace.